Hi guys, welcome back aboard good old Athena. Today we will waste no time and start heading towards the Bahamas. It's about a 500 nautical mile trip there, 550 nautical miles, but we're going to split it up into two legs. We're all the way down here in the British Virgin Islands, and up here is the island where we're going to be clearing into the Bahamas. But between there and here is Puerto Rico. There are a few reasons why we've decided to split this passage up into two legs. Weather's one of them, but it would also be nice to take advantage of the cheaper groceries in Puerto Rico and get topped off on diesel before we hit the Bahamas. If you're new here, we're Ava and Mess. I spent 7 years on a somewhat extensive refit of our 1987 Trident Warrior sailboat named Athena. It was an oh glorious sanding extravaganza. We left Denmark and started cruising full-time, sailing down Europe's west coast, and then we had our biggest adventure yet, crossing the Atlantic. Now we're sanding and sailing our way around the world. The weather forecast has changed quite a bit since last night or yesterday when we made our plans. The BVIs are here, Puerto Rico is here, and yesterday all of this was one giant red mess filled with thunderstorms. Today's forecast for the next 24 hours looks a lot milder. There's not really a lot going on between the BVIs and Puerto Rico. Unfortunately, there is not much wind either, so a big portion of what we're going to be doing over the next 20 hours or so is going to be motoring or motor sailing. That is nobody's favorite, but the 10-day forecast is looking pretty bleak. At no point in the next 10 days will there be enough wind, at least in the forecast, that we would be able to just sail. There is a bit of a silver lining. The lack of wind combined with the fact that the North Atlantic has been pretty calm for the last week or so means that the sea state down here is relatively calm, or at least should be. Even though no thunderstorms are forecast as such, I'm still a little bit scared by the forecast from yesterday. So as a bit of a precaution, I have made a little tinfoil envelope here for our SSD with all our unedited videos on. So that goes in there for hopefully a bit of safekeeping. Without further ado, we headed out, leaving behind us the beautiful islands of the BVI. I have no doubt we'll be back at some point in the future. The forecast was correct. We had less than 2 knots of wind, gusting up to a terrifying 4 knots. No wind also means it gets pretty warm. In an attempt to create some shade, I put up a towel, and that helped a lot. Rumbling along at 1800 RPM with nothing to do, I took to polishing some of our stainless. For whatever reason, the wheel has gotten really bad lately. It might be drops of salt water from our diving gear or something like that, but either way, Autosol to the rescue. As is tradition, we like to eat dinner before the sun sets. It makes it easier to get everything ready and to get everything cleared away. The sun sat behind a thick line of clouds, and during the night we did see some thunderstorms off at a distance, but nothing up close. As is usually the case, the sun rose again the following morning, just as we were arriving at the entrance into San Juan. We have seen hundreds of sunrises on the boat. This one was one of the nicest. Once we were inside the breakwater and out of the swell, I raised our Q flag and we proceeded straight to the anchorage. Welcome to San Juan. Arriving here marks a pretty cool milestone for us. Well, sorry, this is right next to an airport, if you can hear that plane in the background. But yeah, this place, arriving here, pretty cool milestone because this marks 20 countries we've been to aboard Athena since we left Denmark 3 years ago. We're anchored right here next to the old town, which this area feels 100% like an industrial harbor, and well, I believe that is what it is. But from here we have super easy access to a bunch of grocery stores as well as a ton of restaurants. So even though this place here might not be the most scenic of anchorages for our short stay here in Puerto Rico, it is absolutely perfect. Oh, there's another plane because the airport, or a small airport, is right over there. It's not on our chart on the chart plotter, but you can see it here on Google Maps where the blue dot here is the airport. I've had another look at the forecast and there is still no wind in the next 10 days. We'll check again in a couple of days, but I am starting to suspect that we will have to motor from here and all the way to the Bahamas. You might ask, but why the rush? Well, there are a couple of reasons. For one, hurricane season is right around the corner. Our current boat insurance for Athena wants us north of Cape Hatteras by June 1st, which we're not quite gonna make that, but we should, well, hopefully be in the US. We're also both super excited to experience the Bahamas, and even though this is just going to be a small little taste of it, we would like to get a couple of weeks in the Bahamas before we then make the final jump to the US for hurricane season. So even though motoring is nobody's favorite, if we want to get to the Bahamas in the next 2 weeks, well, we're going to have to either swim or do some motoring. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on the forecast and see what happens. Anchored right behind us are our friends Mark and Denise aboard the ML Kara. They had generously invited us along on an adventure in their rental car, including a 7 a.m. pickup in their OC tender. We zoomed away from Athena and piled into the mighty rental steed. The first stop was, I am probably gonna butcher this, but Los Pinos for breakfast. Ava was happy to get her twice daily caffeine fix, and I was excited to see an awesome omelette. Back in the car, we had about an hour to our next stop, the giant marina of Puerto del Rey. The reason for stopping here was to pick up a new lifeline battery for Kara from this place called Antilles Power. One of the interesting things about Marina del Rey is that the marina is so large that they have an expressway of sorts running down the middle where golf carts zoom past at Mach 11. Back in the mighty steed, yet again we headed off to see some nature. Bam! Rainforest! As usually, a good crowd pleaser are giant leaves, and as with so many things in nature, the bigger, the better. I myself am still partial to a good fern, and nothing will ever cure me of that fetish. Rainforest plus mountains equal waterfalls. Eager to see water affected by gravity, the 3 other explorers piled out of the car like a gaggle of tourists. I, however, have been blessed with an iPhone 15 with 5 times optical zoom and could get the needed waterfall shots from inside of the air-conditioned car. Scenic views? Check. Yet another waterfall? Check. And at this one we decided to do the short 10-minute walk up to a swimming hole. Only to quickly realize that other humans had the same idea. I have absolutely zero desire to jump into that human-infused soup. On the way back to the marina, we stopped at a local restaurant for the best and also most violently chopped pork I have ever had. I think it's safe to say the Puerto Ricans know their way around a pig. The last leg of the adventure was also the most terrifying, with this marina cart buckling under the weight of our groceries and Mark's new lifeline battery. We've been here in San Juan for I think 5 or 6 days, something like that now, and the 10-day forecast is still not looking super awesome. We're gonna leave in a few hours. As you may be able to see here behind me, the dinghy is up on deck and we're all ready to go. The forecast is not ideal, but I think it's the best we're going to do in the next 10 days. If the forecast holds, then we might be able to sail the last 2 days of our 4-day passage to the Bahamas. It is 456 nautical miles. There is not much to say about it, except we need to make sure we steer clear of this area here, which I think is called Silver Banks. It's north of the Dominican Republic. That is, I believe, a nature reserve. You're not allowed to enter there without a permit. And also there's supposed to be a bunch of uncharted rocks or coral heads. We've filled up on diesel, and worst case, we have enough diesel to motor all the way to the Bahamas. We are pretty fuel efficient. Around 1800 RPM will go about 5 knots, and at that rate we're burning about 2 liters an hour, something like that. Meaning if we were to motor the entire way, which I hope we won't have to, but if we were to, we would burn around 180 liters of diesel. I think that's 47 gallons, something like that. Once we get up to the Dominican Republic, we should also get a nice boost from this current here. It's just shy of a knot, but every little bit helps. The only downside to leaving today is the fact that this afternoon there's supposed to be a bit of thunderstorms out here, which we're going to be somewhere in this area. Hopefully it won't get too bad.
Right now it's 1:30 and we are 15 miles into our 450-mile journey.
Yep. Are we there yet?
Oh, no, not even close. We were a little bit apprehensive about this passage because we haven't done a long passage.
Yeah,
and
it means not that this is going to be a bad passage.
No,
it's just
no.
we haven't had like a 4-day passage since the Atlantic crossing.
Yeah, and we really got used to like the day jumps, and those of course are really nice because you're just there in a day. So,
Yeah.
you know, we just got to get into the hang of it. And usually by the end of a long passage, we're always like, we love long passages, we'll always do them, but it's just getting over that like little mental hump. Right here on our port side is Puerto Rico, and right now it is covered in rain, and that is heading our way, and it should also bring some thunderstorms with it. That should be getting to us in about an hour or so. So yeah, free showers in a little bit. Do you want to say anything?
No,
You want to talk about anything?
I don't think I have anything to contribute.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. We have a long way to go. We need to save our
Yammering on.
yammering on. It's 6 p.m. and we are on mile 40 of 450. Not much has changed in terms of wind. It's cooled down a little bit just because the sun is behind all of the rain clouds, but it has not rained yet. But I don't want to jinx it. I'm a little nervous. But like there are like some angry clouds all around us still. They've just been hovering around us all day. But yeah, so 6 p.m., that means it's dinner time. As many of you know, we are big fans of pre-making all of our meals for passages. And luckily, I had a bunch of meals made for when we were going to do the jump to Turks and Caicos. So I didn't even have to do any cooking for this trip. But yeah, I have some meatballs and I made some pasta yesterday. So I'm just going to warm that up for us. Man's just asked for me to put ketchup on his pasta. My Italian ancestors are turning over in their grave. I have pasta sauce. Oh, the things we do for marriage. I'm trying to use all of our canned food that we got from the Atlantic crossing, so I'm just gonna add some of this mixed vegetable. Here's your ketchup. Bon appetito. You want the one with the veggies?
With bellies full of delicious dinner, we sailed into the night. And by the way, ketchup on pasta is a very common thing to eat in Denmark. I just wanted to mention that before the comment section absolutely destroys me. The night was uneventful, with only a couple of ships getting close enough to trigger our AIS alarm. Uneventful also describes the next 2 days, where the most exciting thing to happen was this seabird hitching a ride.
It's around 1 o'clock on day 3, and we have about 180 miles to go. The first 2 nights have been... Oh.
Wow, it's like the first bit of radio in days.
Of course, like right when I go to record. But anyways, the first 2 nights were good. The first night I saw something giant and metal.
Yes, and a UFD or UFF.
Unidentified floating object.
Doohickey.
It looked like some kind of
Seascape, Norwegian Jade, call you channel 16.
Okay. It looked like some kind of like satellite or like some huge metal thing floating in the water. So that woke me up. That was at like that was around like 2:30 in the morning.
Yep.
And then just in general, we haven't seen so much trash.
Yeah, trash and like tree trunks and yeah, like that heavy rain we had the day before leaving Puerto Rico. I'm wondering if that they also had that here and it just washed out a bunch.
It literally has felt like we've been alone for like the past 2 days, and as soon as we get the camera out, there's chatter. The wind picked up a little bit, not enough to sail, but enough to give us a little boost while we're motor sailing. So we put up the head sail. Right now we're going like around 6 knots. If we keep up this speed, we'll probably get in around 7 tomorrow.
Yeah. But I'm hoping what will happen is once we get a bit clear of the Dominican Republic, there should be that current I showed you guys in earlier in the video. And I'm hoping that'll give us a little bit of a further boost so we can get in tomorrow before it gets dark.
Typically on day 3 of a passage is when we really start to like get into the rhythm and routine of things. For some reason, for me, this passage, I have felt like a little extra tired. Usually it's the opposite. I'm like, sleep, you go sleep, go sleep. But that's why I really love, I know we mentioned this in all of our passage videos, I love that we do like more of a fluid sleep schedule. At night, we typically do 3 hours on, 3 hours off, but like if one of us can give somebody an extra hour of sleep, if you're not tired, then we will do that. Our motto is sleep when you can, because sometimes when like, if you're sticking to the 3 hours on, 3 hours off, when it's time for you to go down, you're not tired. So that's why the fluid way works better for us. Just like sleep when you're tired, and if you're not, give someone else a chance to sleep. However, something that has been really, really nice with our sleep schedule is because we're motoring, we can have the air conditioning on, and oh my gosh.
Yeah, that is really nice. The other night when I woke up from my nap, I was actually shivering.
I know.
It was awesome.
When you were sleeping last night, I went down and I was like, ooh, it's cold in here. I need to go back into the cockpit. But also we can have the water heater on, which just like having a nice warm shower at the end of the night, just like really helps you to sleep well.
Life at 5 knots is slow, and I always tend to miss land food despite Ava's awesome pre-cooked meals. So every single time we get overtaken by a giant cruise ship, I always have this little thought pop up. What if I hailed them and asked if they could just toss over a cheeseburger? As of yet, I have not had the courage to ask.
It's day 4. We have about 5 nautical miles to go. It's 5 p.m. and we just got our first glimpse of the Bahamas. And you know what that means?
New country ritual!
Mwah! I feel like I haven't been so excited to see land before. Even though it wasn't that long of a passage, this last day has gone by so slow. Like it just has felt like the never-ending day. So we are very relieved to see land.
When I went up forward to put up our Q flag, I found this poor little flying fish stuck to the deck and completely dried out. We've seen thousands of these skirting the surface of the water. It was really cool to see one of them up close. Speaking of close, I believe this is referred to as a close call. When I jumped in the water to check our anchor, I found this line hanging off of one of the blades on our prop. I have no idea when we picked up this little bundle of joy, but it must have been on there for a little bit, because a few days ago I noticed that we were burning more diesel than I was expecting us to do, and then when we went to reverse on our anchor to set it, I noticed that the boat was rattling in a way it doesn't normally do. Anywho, we'll toss this guy back overboard and see who catches it next. Just kidding. We'll bring it into town when we go to clear in and dispose of it in a responsible fashion. Our goal, now that we have made it to the Bahamas, is to continue day jumping north towards the US. It's about 500 nautical miles from here to Florida, and we would like to be there in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So that means we need to average something like 20 or 30 miles a day.
So we really can't stop and linger too long, but we still want to stop and smell the roses, if anything, just to figure out where we want to come in the Bahamas next season.
We've only just gotten to the Bahamas, but I think we're both very excited to return again and have a bit more time here. And yeah, especially the water looks freaking amazing.
It's so beautiful. We already keep saying we're Bahamas people.
Yeah, we're just Bahamas people.
Yep.
But yeah, we hope to see all you guys back here aboard Athena next week, where we will attempt to maybe anchor out in the middle of the ocean. So that should be exciting.
Yep.
Yeah, and other than that, that is the end of the video. As always, feel free to leave a comment down below, and don't forget, if you've enjoyed this video,
Please remember to leave a like.
see you.